Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Andrew Rimby. Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, a very special cultural phenomenon episode. You've heard of Saltburn, you've seen the TikToks. It's become just the water cooler conversation or the phone conversation nowadays. So I'm so excited because Tristan Poulin, my friend, hi, Tristan.
A
I hope everyone has listened to Tristan's episode about theater. He's all things a theater extraordinaire, creator, director, playwright, all the things. It was his idea, so thank you, Tristan, because I haven't been able to get Saltburn out of my head, and I'm so glad that I had an opportunity to rewatch it.
Yeah, it's amazing. When I was watching it, I was like, I have to call Andrew. Like this is what I feel like your podcast is about. And like you dive into the nitty-gritty and there's so much to dive into this.
Yes, subterfuge, counterintelligence, subverting the stereotypes of normative
Mhm.
behavior and social class and gender and sexuality. Yeah, it's wild. And if you don't have the pleasure of watching this on either YouTube or Patreon, I have this like kaleidoscope image of all the characters behind me. Um, so like first like what drew you to Saltburn? Like, did you know about what the movie was going to be, or did you just go in not having any prior knowledge about it?
I had wanted to watch it in theaters when it came up because you know, um, oh, how do you say his name? I just went blank. Jordy.
Oh, you're talking about Barry?
No, the other one. I just
Oh,
lost.
Jacob Elordi. Jacob Elordi.
Jacob. So I fell in love with him during Euphoria. I just think he's a
Mm.
really strong actor, and I've been kind of following his career and stuff like that. So I wanted to see this. And plus, it has a good cast, and some of them have Oscar noms. And then it came, and I had no clue what this film was about. All I knew is that the little poster says we're all about to lose our mind. And I love all things mayhem. I read one article that said from beginning to end, this show is nothing more than ritualistic performance. And I went, what?
Mm.
And that's my background as a grad, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to go watch this. And it did not let me down.
Yeah, well, I remember when the trailer came out. And if you look back at the trailer, it really just seems like a lush mansion countryside
Yeah.
lifestyle film. Like you don't really see all the black comedy psychological thriller aspects. Because I remember when I wanted to see it with my boyfriend, which we did in the movie theaters in November. That was a while ago, but right, it took a while for it to go to Amazon, which is why all the TikToks started to explode because then it had been streaming.
Right.
Um, so and then people could like myself now, video sections of it and create TikToks and things, which you really can't do in the movie theater, or you're not supposed to.
Right.
I still am not safe enough or comfortable in my skin to film at a movie theater because
Mm.
that is copyright infringement, and I think I'll get
Yeah.
penalized for
FBI will
that.
be like, boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
Well, do you
No.
remember when they used to, especially in New York City or any city, they would like have the bootleg DVDs of movies that came out in the
Oh, yeah.
movie theaters?
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
remember watching some of those, and I'm like, where were they sitting in the movie theater?
Well, and I
Um,
remember like when being little and the FBI warning would come across, and I thought I was going to get arrested for even watching the movie. So, we're in a whole nother world.
oh my gosh. Well, and yeah, so I saw it like before Thanksgiving, I think. Um, or it was just after Thanksgiving, sometime around then it had come out. And I loved how it just exceeded my expectations.
Mhm.
Because I
Well,
really loved the director, Emerald Fennell,
oh,
and
yeah.
didn't realize she was Midge in Barbie.
I did not
Like the
either.
pregnant Barbie. Yeah, that's
Yep.
her. And I was obsessed with how the cinematography and style of Promising Young Woman and how because I was working out today listening to Promising Young Woman soundtrack, and I realized she really does love a musical soundtrack to
Mhm.
frame her narrative of the
Yeah.
films.
Well,
Um, yeah.
going back to what you talked about the trailer, when I first watched the trailer, it was giving me like a modern take on Call Me by Your Name,
Yeah. Yeah.
about like subtlety of intimacy and like, hidden but unspoken love. And I was like ready to go in and be like, oh, this is cute. And then I was like clenching my pearls.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then what I loved though is I know so many people now, the critics especially, are like talking about how it's like she borrowed so much from talented Mr. Ripley, but I don't really know the talented Mr. Ripley that well, even though now I have it in my Libby app, like to read as I'm like walking on my treadmill eventually. We'll see when I mean the walking on the treadmill I do, but I don't know when I'll start to
Yeah.
read it. But I just love how when you rewatch it, it's giving me a whole new perspective because I know of all the spoilers. Like, I don't know how you feel. You said you've watched it 5 times, so I'm
Yeah,
sure
I've watched
you're
it five
picking up on
times.
a lot.
So I'm picking up on it, but the thing that I picked up on more than anything was all the connections to literature and
Mm,
art throughout the ages, like American Psycho,
yeah.
Summer Night's Dream, literally, like the story of Icarus, and all of these things. And it's very Whitmatic. I mean, like I kept thinking of Whitman's poetry through the whole thing. Like,
Mm.
you
Well, how
know,
so?
like I sing the body electric and all the men bathing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I can't remember the one poem,
Wait, can
but
we just not to, this is, you're on the podcast network, but this is like our informal chat. Like why does he have to be naked in the grass? Like, I mean, that is very Whitmanic. You're right. Like the
yeah,
nudity in the grass and sunbathing, but like, why do they all have to be naked? I like rewatched that. And I'm like, do they just need to like compare each other's like cock
it,
sizes? Like, I didn't
yeah,
know what
like
was going on.
I don't know that, but like it's also I think it's a de-shedding. Like if I was
Oh,
directing this, I would say it's a de-shedding of
mhm.
showing bareness, and it's an act of unmasking, which is
Mm.
it really doesn't work.
No,
Like
because he's able to deceive and
yeah.
hide even when he keeps being made nude. Oh, that's such an interesting
Well, because
metaphor.
I also think looking back at it, I think he's a sociopath.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I think that when you watch back, you start to see he's playing into their world. I mean, like, who has the money to leisurely all summer lay in naked grass and like, like it's so weird. And here's one thing: I would never lay naked in the grass with my siblings. Like that was weird in itself to me. Like it
Yeah.
just seemed
I don't
everyone.
have siblings, so I wouldn't worry about that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
it does seem um it seems like okay, let's talk about the social class aspect because I think rewatching it, I'm seeing framed in a much more um heightened way. Like how interested the family wants to be in social ills and problems or mental health, but
hmm
how they could give a shit about the actual people's emotions.
yeah,
Like, you know, Elspeth's friend that she takes in, and then she jokes about her killing herself. And she's
yeah,
like,
like
oh, she was always dramatic. I'm
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what?
And tell me about your dad. Tell me about this. It reminds me of, and I don't know if you've ever read this play, but A Woman of No Importance by Oscar Wilde. And, he's always like talking about classism and how they interact and the drama of it all and like the gaslighting, but the rumor mill. And that's what when they're leisurely, like the family at Saltburn, they don't have real people problems. Their privilege keeps them above lofty in the clouds. So they're sitting down and she's sunbathing and she's like, like, oh, it's just the hottest day of the year. And she's recalling when, so and so wrote a song about me, but it really wasn't about me because I hate reading. Like they don't have problems. Like I think the biggest problem they have is when he dies,
Mhm.
like it's a reckoning. And I yeah, the classism, the socioeconomic lens that you could place on this is unreal. From the moment he steps foot on, well, actually, I think it's the opening scene when he's walking through the campus and they're like, "Oh, nice outfit," that you see right then
Yeah. Well,
separate.
and I'm going to give spoilers now, so be ready, everyone. But like, right, once you know the sociopathic tendencies, he now owns the mansion at the end, the infamous murder on the dance floor, which I've had so much fun like doing those videos. Um, sent my boyfriend some videos, but don't need to talk about that. Um, but I did talk about it. I know
Bossy.
exactly what I'm doing, Tristan.
I know you
So
know exactly what you're doing.
so what I think is so fascinating though is when you know that and then you rewatch the film, the montage, even before you see that like cartoonish Saltburn title screen, which I still think she does such a whoever she's working with, they always do such a good job in her films with the stylizing of just even the title screens.
Yeah.
It felt very medieval what was happening in the Saltburn title. It looks,
Shakespearean.
yeah, Shakespearean,
Yeah.
almost Canterbury Tales-ish.
Yes.
Um, and but you get this montage of like, um, I loved him, or did I love him? And it's like he's questioning, like how many, let me count the ways, like very Elizabeth Barrett Browning,
Yeah.
of his love. And he's also smoking a cigarette and recalling. So everything's already happened that he's done to the family
Yeah.
and the tragedy. So you're like, wait, what kind of frame of mind is he in? Like, who is he telling this narrative to? Is he trying to let out all his guilt, or is he completely fine with everything he's done and he's now just going to relish in how he accomplished seizing a mansion from them?
Yeah.
Um,
And
it's
I
wild.
read something the other day that said that there's a theory that Barry's character knew the guy that went the summer before, that there's something in the movie that lends itself to that. So this was
Mm.
like premeditated.
Well,
Like,
everything is premeditated, right?
oh yeah, but I mean like as in
Oh,
like
you
he
mean
knew,
premeditated?
yeah, he knew he had a goal, a
Yeah.
plan
Even
before
before he
he
went
went
to
to Salt Barn.
campus,
Yeah.
like he knew that he was going to infiltrate into the family. That's fascinating. Okay, so we all got to rewatch now with that eye to like what
Yeah.
happened to. Well, yeah. Venetia keeps saying to him, um, like, "Oh, he'll get tired of you, like he gets tired with his other playthings,"
Like,
and like she's referring to the like impoverished or less than fortunate guys he brings as like
yeah.
a badge of honor that he's like doing mission work or
Yeah.
however they're seeing. But
Yeah.
they're all doing that in some, except Venetia, I guess. But they're all somehow, well, I don't know. Don't you think they're all somehow
I mean,
trying to
she
relate?
reads from it. I mean, I think where he's the giver,
Yeah.
right? He is the angel. Like one thing I saw an interview with her about how she purposely had his costumes be linen so that the light could come through when he picked up his arm. And there's these shots in the movie where like he has aura of light around him that he's angelic, saint-like. He's not the problem. He was just born into his family, but she is always shrouded in darkness. And like, because she's the
Mhm.
taker. And the reason the last friend went away is because she, can I say the F word on this
Yeah.
podcast? Um, and then, it's like she takes and he gives. So they're like the yin yang. And once he dies, that balance is thrown off. And then there's
Yeah.
balance after she's gone?
Yeah. I think that each of them are trying to relate to the everyday person and make themselves feel better that they're not privileged, right? It's like they're uber wealthy, but they're not privileged, even though they have like all this staff. But it's so fascinating. Like, even when he wants to order an egg, it becomes this dramatic scene as if they've never seen like someone, debate about what they're going to eat for breakfast. it's but
But
like
they
everything
have such
has to
a
be,
regimen. But that's the
yeah.
thing. I think that's where they talk about the ritualistic performance of this, is that we all have our daily rituals, then we have cultural, and like even breakfast to them is ritual. You have to shave. My mom has a phobia of like stubble. You have to dress, we dress for dinner. We wake up and like everyone is eating. And it's, if you watch the plates that they're eating, it is minute,
Mm,
and the parties are grandiose. They're these spectacles. Like everything is a ritual to these people.
yeah.
And he finds it and he figures it out. The moment I realized the first time I was watching it, I said, oh shit, he's got a game plan going. Is when he goes to sit down. It's the first time we ever see him smoke. And it's when she says the funny line about, I used to be a lesbian, but it was entirely too wet down there for me or whatever, which I was like, same girl, same. But he takes a drag of the cigarette and he purposely makes what's the character's name that they send off? The first one, the tragic girl.
Oh, Pamela.
Pamela. They send Pamela packing, and he's like, but do you know, I think she's using you. And he's like gaslighting her so that he becomes closer. And that's he infiltrates her. So if he can't have him and he can't have Venetia, that he goes to the mom. And I mean, he's a leech. He gets the blood he wants, literally.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that also he um and like not only is a leech, but like the way you can see everything relating of the false narrative that he's saying, he then is projecting it onto the other people. So like he
Mm-hmm.
has Elspeth question Pamela about
Mm-hmm.
the exact um sociopathic narrative he's feeding the family. So it's
Well,
like,
and
no, Pamela wasn't lying. You're lying, and
right.
you're now using Pamela as this alibi.
Well, he does that with everyone, though. He does it against,
Mm.
the sister and the brother, and then getting the cousin thrown out. Like he is he's a mastermind at what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, okay. So what did you think of sexuality or just eroticism? Like, do you feel like this is a more erotically charged Great Gatsby? Because in a way, I found it interesting that you get, um, like, um, because she was in Promising Young Woman. Carrie Mulligan, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
Yeah, and she was in The Great Gatsby, the one with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
And I almost thought like it is kind of a, psychological thriller a la Great Gatsby, but not the Great Gatsby, but like showing the excesses of privilege,
Oh,
but like
yeah,
not
yeah.
the excesses where the Great Gatsby, in my opinion, shows you like how egotistical wealth will drive people and what's hidden under the surface. This I feel is like they're trying to be almost like Get Out,
Oh,
philanthropic
yeah, yeah, yeah.
people. They're actually vile in aspects. Like there are diabolical things that each family member is doing to each other. Like they're being used as pawns.
Well, and I think that that's what it is that like I could see where you're going with Great Gatsby. I never made that connection when I was watching it, but I did think it was a game of using
Mm-hmm.
and a game of chess, but everyone was playing against everyone. And, when like the party scene, when they're like, oh, we'll have this big party and they're all, you know, even the cousin comes out and he has the donkey head. Like they're just so foiled to
Yeah.
Shakespearean characters, all of them, every single one of them. And then, the whole they're gonna have to help me because my Greek literature is not all that great, but the whole like Minotaur and the labyrinth and all of that, you know what I'm talking about? And like
Yes, yes, yes.
that whole storyline, it's just like who did she write this too?
I'll check. I'll check.
Because whoever wrote it was brilliant because I love when people take classic literature and they layer it in to create something new and
Oh
fresh.
yes, she did write it.
Okay, yeah, that checks. I mean, this woman is
Yes.
just brilliant.
Yes. And she went to Oxford too.
Yeah.
So I feel like she's really drawing on her Oxford education. But
Mm.
also, how about the Harry Potter references? Like what makes it so 2007?
Yeah.
Like you can see like what the craze was of Harry Potter and Ron, Hermione. I don't know. There's like they're joking about who would have sex with each other or they would be in a threesome. Something like that. I hope you enjoyed this portion from the Ivory Tower Boiler Room podcast. To listen to the rest of the episode and watch it, head to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/ Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And just for you all, I'm giving a promo deal for our Patreon. So for 1 week, you get a free trial. Join the ITBR professor level, which is $10 a month. But again, you get a 1 week free trial and you can watch the rest of this episode and also see our full catalog of unedited and ad-free video episodes, exclusive audio episodes, including Married to Pippi's True Crime and Academia series, our Queer as Folk and Smash TV show rewatch podcast episodes. You're going to unlock everything. And also, you'll see that every month we host a book club. So you can also join our book club. Okay, see you all on the Patreon.